Well, the jury says guilty, finding one of Michael Madigan's longtime top lieutenants lied over and over. 5 hours it took them to convict Tim Mape of perjury and attempted obstruction of justice. This is a biggie, and we have a biggie. We bring in our legal eagle, Irv Miller. Mr. Miller, long time no see. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you. Good morning, Brad.
If there was a gate between Michael Madigan, maybe the most powerful State House Speaker in the history of the United States, that's not an underestimation. If there was a gatekeeper to that house of power, it was Tim Mape. What does this mean? 2 federal convictions, besides an all-expensive paid trip to Club Fed, which we know he's going to get up to 25 years. What does it mean?
Well, the feds wanted Mapes at big time to be a witness against Madigan. And as you said, as the gatekeeper, he would know everything that happened. Madigan, frankly, didn't communicate like a lot of people do with respect to phones and emails and texts. He went through Mr. Mapes, basically. So they wanted Mr. Mapes to testify at his trial next April. Mr. Mapes decided, according to this jury yesterday, that when he testified in front of the grand jury, that he decided to protect his friend, Mr. Madigan, and he lied to the grand jury. And basically, at this point in time, he's not a witness against Mr. Madigan. I got to tell you, Brad, that may change. He still may change his mind. He's not going to be a great witness anymore because he's been convicted of perjury, and I'm sure any good defense attorney will go after that. But he's looking at major time in a federal penitentiary, and that has a way of influencing decisions that people make. Okay,
so you're saying, just sidebar here before the next question, he could flip, say, listen, I ain't got a quarter century left. I ain't going to a quarter century, some white-collar petting zoo. I will turn on my boss, and then they could work out some type of deal where the federal prosecution would say, okay, we will lessen you by X amount if you deliver X amount.
Well, don't forget, before he testified in front of that grand jury, he was basically given a free pass.
Right, that's one of my questions coming up here.
Help us out, and we won't charge you.
Yeah.
Well, the only way he got charged was lying to the grand jury.
Yeah.
So right now, he's not a credible witness, but he still is a witness. There may be documentary evidence that would back up what he would testify to, but I would suspect they will be exploring options about having Mr. Mapes testify in the future, although those options now are limited because of this jury verdict.
Yeah, he's now a known liar. Tim Mape's guilty. Mape's guilty. That out of the Sun-Times this morning. So long after 4 others were indicted, Mape, as you said, was in front of that grand jury with an order of immunity, meaning if he told the truth, he'd skate, go off to retirement. Cushy consulting gig, country clubs and Arnold Palmer's, yet the jury said despite the get-out-of-jail-free card, he lied. What does that say? I mean, what does that say about still the hold that Michael Madigan has on his closest lieutenants?
You know, they've been friends forever. He was trying to be loyal to his friends. He thought his ambiguous answers before the grand jury would stop a perjury charge. They were ambiguous answers. You know, I don't remember this. I don't remember that.
Right.
I would not be privy to that type of information. Well, the feds in this case had texts and telephone conversations recorded and emails showing what he did know in the past while he was the chief of staff for Mr. Madigan. So, you know, he may not have realized the extent of the government's knowledge when he was in front of that grand jury, but don't forget, when he was given the immunity, a judge told him, Mr. Mapes, all you have to do is be truthful in front of this grand jury, and you have immunity. The prosecutor in front of the grand jury told him, Mr. Mapes, all you have to do is tell these ladies and gentlemen the truth, and you won't be charged. Do you understand that? And he answered yes. But yet he still didn't answer the questions to the best of his ability, which ends up with a jury verdict of guilty yesterday.
Yeah, almost that ambiguity kind of came back to bite him right in the hiney. When the feds come, they bring the thunder. 3-week trial, 18 witnesses, several FBI recordings. They had Mapes lying 7 specific times, 14 different topics. So what does that tell us potentially about Madigan's trial? Big dog faces federal trial. If his top lieutenant lied that much about Madigan-related business, I mean, can you extrapolate anything from that, or not really, apples and oranges?
Well, if he doesn't testify, that Madigan's jury will never know that Mapes lied in front of the grand jury.
Okay.
They won't even hear that information. I'm sure the feds have what they consider enough evidence to proceed with the prosecution. We know that there's other witnesses who are going to testify that have prior dealings with the speaker and what was going on. The feds, I have to their credit, they don't charge a case unless they're confident that they can end up with a conviction.
Right.
They're not taking chances, especially when you're talking about a high-ranking member of government like Speaker Madigan was for years and years.
Okay, so this is an overarching case. The feds have nailed a number of people. Ann Pramaggiore, retired CEO of Exelon Utilities, probably the biggest name, but other background players, Mapes being one. If you're game hunting, the top targets are still former Speaker Mike Madigan and Ed Burke. Not completely related, but this is a huge overarching deal. So those are two of the most powerful, long-running politicians in the state's history. If you're those two men, you're their lawyer, Irv, and you've played both sides of the aisle. You say, hey, if this is a house of cards, foundation is crumbled. What's left of the two top cards? The question is, are they kings or are they jokers in this drama? Sorry for the heavy double metaphor.
I'm sorry. This puts them in the situation of asking for a lot of continuances because of their age, Mr. Burke and Mr. Madigan.
Okay.
They're not going to want to go to trial at all. They're not going to want to sit in that federal courthouse. So whether it's something related to health or some matter related to an attorney's busy schedule, I predict you're going to see requests for continuance on both their cases. Whether or not a federal judge grants those requests are another matter. But right now the defense is delay, delay, delay. And we've heard a lot about that lately.
Yeah, okay. So playing the chess match, it's going to be just the goal is to never go to trial.
That's right.
And enjoy the retirement.
When you're on tape and the feds are after you, you don't want to go to trial.
Right. Enjoy the time while you got it. Irv Miller, we appreciate our time with you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Brad.